Hey everybody, we're back today with another small cold hardy citrus taste testing. Today we just have two fruits to review. I managed to get my hands on these. They were for sale on Etsy from Winter Warm Farms. So very good seller. They not only sell these Yuzu fruit in front of me here, but also the Shekwasha. This one's pronounced a few different ways, and spelled as well, but we'll call it Shaquasha for this video. So two very unique fruit in front of me here. Something different from the last video is that these are not trifoliate orange hybrids. These are just regular citrus. The Yuzu is a hybrid between the Ichang pepita and a Mandarin, and the Shaquasha, I believe, is purely just a Mandarin, or some other sort of off type, but these are both true citrus, and you can see actually, I can pick this one up in my hands, the Shekwasha mandarins are really tiny. They almost look like they would be kumquats with how small they are, but they do kind of have more, I guess, little fruit segments inside and a couple other distinguishing characteristics. But you can see the Yuzu as well, while bigger than the Shekwasha, it is still a relatively small fruit. Now, something interesting is that the Yuzu has been trending in recent years, and it does seem to be a more popular fruit. A lot more people growing these. We might even see them in the stores too. There's a lot of hype about the smell of the Yuzus, and I guess it's partly justified. In our review, we didn't find these to be absolutely astounding, but they are very intriguing, and they do smell very nice. They're just maybe not as incredible as we might have thought them to be. But going into the actual review here on these fruits, I do have the spreadsheet again, which just kind of takes us through categories like fruit size, smell, taste, different things like that, so we can kind of compare these and develop a good idea of how growable these fruits are and how usable they might be in the kitchen, for sale at farmers markets, in the grocery stores. This will just give us a kind of nice gauge here. So we held these to the same tests as we did for the other fruit, and we can start with the Yuzu here, just taking it through. You can notice the fruit size is indeed small. These came in at about 70 grams per fruit, and they have many large seeds. So you can see as soon as you cut it open, there's quite a lot of seeds, and they're not small either. They take up a large volume inside the fruit, leaving a bit of flesh there. But in terms of the fruit quality, I will say it was very good. These could very easily be sold and used for a lot of different things. While there's not a lot of juice and not a lot of pulp, what is there tastes very good. The taste of the pulp kind of reminded us of like a lemon and lime combination, with some floral notes as well. So it was a little floral, but the flesh itself mostly tasted like if you were to combine lemon and lime. Now for the rind specifically, we did take some bites out of this, and we found that it was almost like if you ate a lemon peel, maybe a little bit lighter in taste, but no bitterness at all. It was actually very edible, and this one would definitely go good candied or made into preserves, as it's already used. If you go to your local Asian grocery store or some other international store, sometimes they sell the yuzu marmalades or jellies, and you'll notice they smell just like this, and they're actually very good. I like to use it for tea. So that's the taste of these. The smell also is very lemony, very floral, almost has some sweetness in there, like there's a bit of honey or something. It does have a very nice smell. It won't take your breath away, but you will notice, especially as you start to squeeze the juice out of these or cut them up a bit more, that's when that smell really comes out, when you kind of damage those little oil glands on the skin there. The smell really comes out of these guys. So they do smell good, and you can kind of tell the hints of mandarin and other things in there. It is complex, but the juice quantity is probably on the medium-low side. It's not a whole lot. It's almost comparable to trifoliate, but just a lot better in taste and smell. The acidity is also high. We noticed when we ate this or made it into a juice, the acid kind of punch did kick in. It was kind of delayed, so at first you'd taste it and it was pretty light, and then that acid would hit afterwards, and you're like, okay, this is a very acidic fruit here. As for the bitterness note, though, we didn't detect any. So these are not bitter fruit by any means. Sour is probably as far as you can go with that. Sweetness was pretty low. It wasn't non-existent. There's a little bit there, but I think the acid is just so high, you don't really get as much of the sweetness. The Brix also came in at 12, which is higher than a lot of those trifoliate hybrids we reviewed. Trifoliate influence, I did put this anyway, though it is more relevant for the trifoliate hybrids. There was none. There was no piney aromatics or anything like that of a trifoliate orange because there's no trifoliate orange DNA in it. For the uses of this fruit, pretty much unlimited. Juice for cooking, preserves, liquor, anything you can think of, this fruit is very well suited for all of those. And when we did make the citrus aid, we kind of make a lemonade of all these fruits and use that as another thing to compare. It had a light lemon taste, again with a strong acidity that was pretty delayed. But overall, if you can grow these, but not lemons in your climate, I think they're still a very good choice and they should not be overlooked, both as an ornamental plant, but also as a plant that's useful in the kitchen. So I do think they make a very good lemon substitute, and they're better than lemons in some ways and worse than them in other ways. So not as much juice, not as much of that maybe classic lemon flavor and strength, but they do smell really nice. Lemons can also smell really nice too. It's just different. It's more floral. Maybe perfumey might be the right word. But overall, the yuzu was a good fruit. I don't regret ordering these, and I do plan on grafting these out and growing them as well. And they have lots of seeds too, so you could see each fruit, you could probably grow out like 30 or 40 plants from it. There's so many seeds in there. A lot like the trifoliate. So moving over now, again, the little Shaquasha here. This actually made it kind of hard to taste test too, because we only had a few of these, and especially making a citrus aid out of just a few small fruit, it was not easy. Each one of these fruits came in at 12 grams, which is very small. This already small yuzu was 70. So these are very tiny, but the quality is very good. It's like if you shrunk down a mandarin. Very good flavor overall, but I will say it was light and a little grassy, and I don't know if that comes more from the skin and maybe if that changes when it ripens more. But at this stage, we felt like the aromatics and the taste were slightly grassy. I will say the smell was probably grassier than the taste, at least. The taste, you get a little more of that light mandarin taste. But the smell was kind of earthy, grassy, and then you get a little bit of that mandarin in there. Going on to the juice, the amount of juice in these small fruits is actually quite high. They're very juicy for their size, so if you scaled this fruit up to a much larger size, these would be great for juicing. You'd make a lot out of them. Acidity is on the medium-low side, kind of similarly how the flavor was pretty light. I will say the acidity, the sweetness, they were all on the lighter side too, so it wasn't non-existent. This wasn't completely insipid. There was enough to work with there, but rather light overall. Bitterness was non-existent, and again, sweetness is kind of medium on the scale. The Brix came in at 13, so a little bit higher than our yuzu here, but this tasted a lot sweeter than the yuzu, meaning that difference in acidity is probably what did most of the work there, not the actual sugar content of these fruits. So a lot less acidic than the yuzu, tastes a lot sweeter. Trifoliate influence was also none. There wasn't really any off flavors, except for that grassiness, which might either be specific to the Shekwasha or just a matter of the ripeness of this fruit. As for its uses, I'd say also pretty unlimited. It doesn't have the same kind of nice floral aspects and aromatics of the yuzu, but you could still use this for a lot of different things. Juice, cooking, preserves, liquor. It's kind of just as useful in those aspects. It just imparts different flavors and different aromatics. So, for the most part, with all true citrus, when it comes to that specific element, that we compare here, the uses for these fruit, they all tend to be about the same. You can use true citrus fruit in a lot of ways. It tends to be more the trifoliate hybrids that might be a little more limited, just because they can impart some interesting off flavors in some cases that you might not want in your cooking, or you might not want in your preserves. For the citrus aid though, finally, on the Shekwasha, it kind of had like a light and sweet mandarin taste. So if we had enough of these, I do think it would probably make a good juice just straight out. No sugar or water even necessary. But we did have to dilute it, both for a fair comparison, but also because there wasn't much fruit to work with. That kind of allowed us to produce a little more to taste test and compare it to everything else. But it was almost reminiscent of the US 852 when made into a citrus aid, just a little bit lighter. But that type of mandarin taste was shared between them, which now thinking back to it, says good things about the US 852 if the citrus aid can taste similarly to this little guy, which is much more of a edible mandarin than that might be in some cases. But that is the Yuzu and Shaquasha right here. They are very good fruits in different ways. I do particularly like the Yuzu, and I'm going to try some stuff with Yuzu and Meyer lemon together and kind of see how they work, because they both have very nice aromatics that you can't find in other fruit. This one's definitely worth growing. I believe these are good down to somewhere in the, I mean honestly for both of these in the 5 to 10 degree range for short intervals, so they can definitely take some cold temperatures, maybe not super cold like some of the trifoliate hybrids can, which can sometimes go down to 0, but I would say if you're able to grow these but not other citrus types, then certainly give them a try. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little review, and this gave you a little perspective on some other cold hardy citrus fruit. Alright, so see you next time.